Reborn. The island of my own. Before I married into wealth, my genius brother handed me $520,000. He said he'd calculated it carefully. I'd spent exactly that much raising him since childhood. Now he was returning every penny I'd earned selling myself, and we were even. From this moment on, we owed each other nothing. That night, I couldn't sleep. Through the wall, I heard my fiancé on the phone with a friend, Nick Lawson. Is the engagement for real? Did you actually fall for her this time? From the balcony came his voice, tender and intimate. I'm just a little fond of her. Keeping her happy, that's all. A bar girl? How could she ever be a wife? And then I was reborn. 10 years into the past. Chapter 1, The School Gates. The 7-year-old genius tugs at my sleeve, his voice small, Claire. I want to go to school. I stand frozen at the school gates, staring into Aiden's eyes. The withdrawal form, a copy of it, is already in my pocket. Am I too late? I'm 18 now, a high school senior. Aiden is 7. Claire? When I don't respond, he tugs my sleeve again. I just stare at him. At those eyes, innocent and trusting now, but in 10 years, they'll be cold. So cold, they can hand me a bank card without flinching. Here's $520,000. I'm repaying everything you ever did for me. Now we're even. The money and power you chase are too vulgar for me. They interfere with my thinking. So don't look for me again. Thanks. Always the same, detached, misanthropic, looking down on everyone. Including me. I've always known I'm ordinary. But my brother Aiden, he's a genius. Our parents were old-fashioned rural folk who practiced extreme favoritism toward sons. They didn't understand genius. They only understood the superstition that heaven envies the brilliant and takes them young. So they kept Aiden sheltered at home, even leaving a thin braid in his hair to anchor his soul. 7 years of his life, wasted. A pearl buried in mud. That's why, in my previous life, I immediately brought Aiden to the city after our parents' sudden death. Why I took on the burden of supporting us both alone. Why I begged relatives for loans the moment Aiden said I want to go to school, so I could send him to the best private academy. I didn't want poverty and my own mediocrity to bury his gifts. So how could we be even? He returned the $520,000, but what about the bond I'd clung to as my reason to endure every humiliation? My ruined stomach, my fake smiles in the nightclub, those nights hiding in bathroom stalls, retching after being groped. What about my wasted decade? The life I could have had, who's going to give that back to me? But I forgot Aiden has always been perceptive, even at 7. He seems to sense my emotional turbulence. His fingers, clutching my sleeve, stiffen. Slowly, he lets go. He takes a step back. His long, thick lashes lower, and suddenly he looks distant, a pitiful child living under someone else's roof, so careful, so small. The sight of him makes guilt rise from the depths of my heart. I force out a laugh. There's an old saying, isn't there? A wolf that can't be tamed. I remember the first time Aiden and Nick met. Aiden was 16 then, at his most rebellious and sharp-tongued. Nick and I had been secretly together for 2 years. That day, I was so happy. I thought I was the luckiest person alive. I had a genius brother, all my pride and hope. And I had a gentle lover who promised me a future. Now I was finally bringing the 2 people I loved most into the same home. I was so happy. The doorbell rang. I couldn't leave the kitchen, so I asked Aiden to get it. I waited eagerly to hear them greet each other warmly, waited for Aiden to call him brother-in-law. But the entryway was silent. I wiped my hands on my apron and walked out, smiling. Why aren't you coming in? 2 figures stood in the doorway, facing each other in wordless confrontation. The air felt frozen. Nick stood outside, tall and composed, holding a large bouquet of tulips in his left hand and a luxury gift box in his right. His usual warm expression was marred by something rare, surprise. Guilt, even. Across from him, Aiden, a head shorter, spine rigid in his school uniform like a stubborn young pine, blocked the door. He didn't move. Didn't speak. And the look he gave Nick was cold, sharp, almost hostile. Why? A strange unease gripped my heart. Baby. Nick saw me first. The shock on his face vanished, replaced by tender affection. This is your Claire. Aiden cut him off, turning to me with biting sarcasm. This is the boyfriend you found? I thought you'd have better taste. Do you even know who he? His words stopped abruptly. He frowned hard. Then all he said was, forget it. Clearly, he thought, explaining to someone of my intelligence was too much trouble. Ignoring Nick entirely, Aiden returned to the couch and picked up a book in German, shutting us out. My smile froze. That unease grew stronger. But Nick acted as if nothing had happened. He walked over, handed me the flowers and gift, and leaned down to press a soft kiss to my forehead. Happy anniversary, baby. I love you. From the couch came a sharp rip, the sound of a page being torn. Claire, why aren't you saying anything? Unable to bear the silence, the 7-year-old Aiden in front of me speaks again, anxiety clear in his voice as he tugs my sleeve. Don't you want me to go to school? I snap out of the memory and look at him. He's still the way I remember, clean, fragile, like a blank page. But my heart has been stained black by ink from 10 years later. I can never return to that purity. A wolf that can't be tamed. The phrase echoes again. Why was I reborn? To raise him all over again? To give him another chance to rip a piece of flesh from my heart? School? I say. You can go. Back to our hometown. The public elementary school there. Same as I did. Aiden's eyes light up, then immediately dim. But Claire, I heard there are private international schools in the city. The teachers are better, I know. But we have no money and no connections. I cut him off bluntly, blocking his words. To him, money and power are probably as abstract as clouds in the sky. Maybe in another 10 years, those things will still be vulgar to a genius like him. Whose fault is that? Mine. For drowning in the mud myself, just to build him a pristine utopia. Aiden, you're smart. So help me imagine something. I crouched down to meet his eyes. What if I drop out of school right now to work for you? What if I take the fastest paying job, say, at a nightclub, serving drinks, selling smiles, and use that money to send you to the best school? And then, when you grow up to be someone brilliant, what would you do? I can't help myself. My rebirth came so suddenly, so perfectly timed, that I don't even know how it happened. Or what happened right before. It came too fast for me to ask the person I should really be questioning. Why? 7-year-old Aiden freezes. Even as a genius, he can't understand this. He only catches a few words that unsettle him. Selling smiles. Claire, who would you sell smiles to? People I hate, I say, word by word. His face goes pale. He presses his lips together, looks down, then lifts his gaze to meet mine directly. Then I won't go to school. His voice is urgent, loud. I won't go to school. I don't want you selling smiles to people you hate. I freeze. In my past life, Aiden never said anything like this. He only ever silently accepted everything I gave him, then climbed upward, stepping on my flesh and blood without a second thought. Not go to school? I press. Then you can't get into the university you want. can't enter the labs you dream of. You won't become the celebrated genius everyone admires. Is that really okay? Aiden is stumped. He stands there, lost, for the first time not knowing what to say. Finally, he finds his voice again, quieter now, thick with tears. I don't know. But I don't want Claire to be unhappy. The boy looks up. Tears slide down his lashes. His voice drops further, full of hurt. Claire, you looked really scary just now. Chapter 2, The Teacher's Office. I don't know how to respond to Aiden's words. So I run. I leave him at the school security booth and sprint into the building, bursting into my homeroom teacher's office. I throw my arms around Grace Sullivan's waist. Miss Sullivan, I was wrong, is less than #0. 6# is greater than I don't want to drop out. I want to stay in school. Miss Sullivan jumps, startled. She's holding my withdrawal form in her hand, clearly on her way to get it stamped by the dean. Once that red seal goes down, it's over. What happens next blurs in my tears. I cling to Miss Sullivan, who's about the same age as my late mother, as if she's a lifeline. In one breath, I pour out everything: my parents' death, my desperation, all the struggles I swallowed in silence in my previous life, too proud to admit. Back then, I was afraid of being looked down on, afraid of pity. But now, in this second life, I have nothing left to fear. Miss Sullivan's expression shifts from disappointment and irritation to sympathy and helplessness. All right, child, stop crying. The hand that was going to push me away ends up resting on my back, patting gently. I can pretend I never received this form. But there's something I have to tell you. Her tone grows serious. A few days ago, a student reported seeing you at night in certain places. Places you shouldn't be. I stiffen. In my past life, I'd already passed the audition at Radiance Club before withdrawing from school. Someone must have seen me and tattled to the teacher. No wonder Miss Sullivan was so cold when I processed my withdrawal. The school rushed it through, probably assuming I was beyond saving. Miss Sullivan, I understand. I promise I'll cut ties with that place completely. I swear. Her expression softens, but she doesn't tear up the form. She presses it flat on her desk. All right. I'll choose to believe you. But whether you can stay depends on what you do next. She pauses. And Claire, given your situation, we need to talk about guardianship. As a mandatory reporter, I have to ensure Aiden has proper care. Let me help you file for kinship guardianship. It's court-supervised, but it'll make everything legal. I walk out of the building and head toward the school gates. Aiden is there, clinging to the iron bars, craning his neck toward the main building. Claire! When he sees me, his face lights up like a puppy spotting its owner. He runs toward me, eyes dropping to my empty hands. Hesitantly, he reaches out his small hand. Claire, can I hold your hand? I don't move. Don't answer. So he tries hooking his pinky around mine. I still don't react, my face blank. Because I'm thinking about something I never did in my past life. Something completely backward. When I don't pull away, Aiden relaxes. A small smile tugs at his lips. We board a bus in silence. I take him to an old residential complex where one of my father's relatives lives. By relation, I'm supposed to call her Aunt Linda. In my previous life, when I needed help most, her phone was always unreachable. But later, when Aiden became famous, she was the first to show up, shoving me aside to fawn over him and arrange endorsement deals, pocketing the commission. Now, standing outside her door, I press the doorbell repeatedly. Coming. Geez, are you trying to wake the dead, Claire? What are you doing here? Aunt Linda, I'm not here to borrow money. I push Aiden forward. I have something to take care of. He'll stay with you for a few days. I'll come back for him. Huh? Why should I babysit for you? And look at him so gloomy and quiet. He gives me the creeps. No way. Take him and go. I don't argue. I just turn and run. Hey. I said my place isn't convenient. Hey. Hey. Claire? Where are you going? Are you leaving me? Claire, I run fast. And I don't look back. Chapter 3, Radiance Club, my second stop, Radiance Club. It's daytime, so the club isn't open yet. I stand at the front entrance, steadying my breath. The manager, Rick Warner, spots me through the glass door and steps outside, confused. You're the new girl? What are you doing here? I'm sorry, mister. Warner. I bowed deeply. I lied when I said I was 20. I'm 18, but still in high school. I thought it over and decided I should go back to school. Can I? Void my contract? Get my deposit back? That $1,000 was my entire savings. My last bit of money. I'm hoping for anything back. That would cover this month's food. Rick's shock fades into suspicion. Contract voided for misrepresentation, deposits retained unless I approve a goodwill return. He crosses his arms. And why would I do that? I swallow. Please, Mr. Warner. I really need the money. Consider it. Making a friend? A friend? Who the hell wants to be friends with some broke student? He's about to refuse outright, but then his eyes crawl over me, lingering on my chest, my legs. A greedy look crosses his face. But, I get it. Girls like you only end up here because something bad happened at home. His tone shifts. Tell you what, come by tonight. You don't even have to serve drinks. Just stand there and look pretty, and I'll give you the full deposit back. No alcohol service. I'm not risking my license. I hesitate. It sounds like a great deal. One night of standing around, and I get all my money back. But I just promised Miss Sullivan I'd cut ties. Rick leans in, lowering his voice conspiratorially. Not gonna lie, we've got a huge client coming tonight. We cleared the whole place just for him. If you're lucky and he notices you, forget school, you could be flying straight into a mansion as a rich man's wife. So what do you say? Deal? Slowly, I nod. Rick's eyes immediately fill with contempt and mockery. But I don't care. Because I have a pretty good idea who that huge client is. Nick Lawson. Just as Rick said, I don't have to serve drinks tonight. I'm just a showpiece. Not because Rick suddenly grew a conscience. It's because there's no need for me to serve drinks. There are too many others. At Radiance Club, the women are called princesses and the men princes, and they work in shifts. But tonight, every single one of them is here, packed into the room. I've never seen it this crowded. And they're all dressed to the nines, makeup flawless. Clearly, Rick's "get lucky and he'll notice you" speech wasn't just for me. I glance down at the plain white dress Rick gave me, then scan the room. I find my target. A girl in a sparkly halter dress. I push through the crowd and hand her a tissue. Tiffany. Your blush is a little heavy. The girl whose stage name is Tiffany pauses, looks me up and down, then pulls out a compact mirror. Oh my God. I look like a baboon's butt. Thanks, girl. She dabs at her face with the tissue. My new mirror's lighting is garbage. Total scam. Don't buy one. I smile a little. Thanks for the warning. This is the first real smile I've had since being reborn. Tiffany is 2 years older than me. In my past life, she was like a big sister. We were always close. She finishes fixing her makeup and naturally loops her arm through mine, grinning. I remember you. You're the one who interviewed, right? So tonight's your first official shift? Nervous? Her arm is warm and solid. For a moment, I almost forget I've been reborn. I shake my head and blurt out the truth. Not officially starting. I talk to Mr. Warner, I'm just here tonight to get my deposit back. Then I'm going back to school. Tiffany freezes. Her smile fades. The arm around mine drops. Oh. Her tone is cold now. I instinctively reach for her hand. Tiffany. Don't call me that. I can't handle it. She slaps my hand away, her face blank. Listen, Miss High School student, don't squat in the toilet if you're not gonna shit. You're in the way. I stand there, slowly lowering my hand. Someone nearby snickers. Playing innocent, obviously. Like wearing that white dress trying to look pure as snow. Acting pure. Like rich guys are idiots. If they wanted pure, would they come to a nightclub? I stand there, eyes on my shoes. Ahem. Rick's cough cuts through the laughter. Clients here. Get ready. Everyone's muscles tense. Smiles bloom on every face. They all turn toward the door in unison. I keep my head down. Don't move. Yeah. Even if I live twice, who doesn't know what I'm really up to? Especially someone like Nick Lawson. The kind of man who can play cold-hearted games and call them love. Who can say a little fond and make it sound like I love you. The most clear-headed, calculated, and ruthless man I've ever known. Suddenly, the pounding music stops. The crowd seems to part as if pushed by an invisible force. I vaguely hear Tiffany gasp. I glance up slightly. A pair of polished black leather shoes enters my line of sight. They stop less than a step away. A voice, low and hoarse, reaches my ears, baby. Did you leave me? Chapter 4. The Man in the Shadows. The noise dies. Everyone holds their breath, staring at this impossible scene. I lift my head stiffly. The man stands backlit, towering. Everything around him blurs into background. He's tall. Handsome in a way that feels aggressive, high cheekbones, a straight nose, thin lips with a hard edge. But right now, his expression is soft. Indulgent, even. Even in a place like Radiance Club, full of good-looking men, his presence makes the air freeze. This is Nick Lawson. 10 years younger. I stare at him, a single thought pounding in my skull. He's been reborn too. Sir. My voice comes out dry. You've mistaken me for someone else. Nick pauses. You know, I haven't, baby. Are you pretending you don't know me? He slowly raises his hand, as if to touch my face. His fingers tremble a few centimeters away. I thought I'd never see you again. His voice drops, almost to himself. After that day, I've had the same nightmare every night. I dream about you. Sir? You've got the wrong person. I really don't know you. This time I raise my voice, stepping back to avoid his hand. My tone is almost harsh. Tiffany stares at me like I'm an idiot. Nick freezes. His hand hangs in midair. Rick finally snaps out of it, rushing over with a groveling smile. Mr. Lawson. Mr. Lawson. She's new, doesn't know any better. She'll apologize right now. He shoots me a death glare. Apologize to Mr. Lawson. Whispers erupt around us. Oh my God, how does she know the Lawson family heir? Look at him. He's like a madman. I catch Rick's signal and lower my head obediently. I'm sorry. Nick's gaze turns even sadder. You don't need to apologize. He forces a smile. Do you know? In those nightmares, there's fire everywhere. Explosions. I'm standing there, frozen, unable to move. And then you appear. You push me out of the way. And the world goes quiet. I turn around, and you're smiling at me. Claire. You smiled at me. He pauses, his voice breaking. Don't you remember any of it? Fire. Explosions. Pushing him away. These foreign fragments come together to point toward one conclusion. In my previous life, I died. To save him. My heart thuds dully in my chest. Each beat stings. But I keep my head down. I'm sorry, sir. I don't remember. And I don't know what you're talking about. I can feel Nick's gaze pressing down on me, heavy and probing. Rick looks like he might combust from frustration. Haha, Mr. Lawson. She's just shy, playing around. Nick doesn't even glance at him. He turns and walks to the bar, pouring himself a glass of whiskey. His back is rigid, cold. Everyone out. Huh? Oh. Of course. Rick stammers, then wheels around to herd the staff. You heard him, early dismissal. Everyone out. Now. The crowd reluctantly disperses. Tiffany shoots me a worried glance before following the others out. I turn to leave too. Rick nearly has a heart attack. Hey. Where are you going? Home. Rick forces a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Home? Listen, sweetheart, Mr. Lawson clearly likes you. Playing a little hard to get is cute, but if you overdo it and piss him off, you'll regret it. It's fine. I keep my face blank. I just want my deposit back and to go home, Mr. Warner. You said I'd only have to stand around tonight, remember? Nothing else. I move toward the door again. This time, Rick really panics. He pulls out a thick wad of cash and shoves it into my hands. Wait. Here, $5,000. Don't be stubborn, okay? Is less than #0. 6# is greater than. If you piss this guy off, the whole club is done. I'm begging you, all right? Consider it a favor? Nick turns around. Seeing Rick grabbing at me, his brows knit together. He sets down his glass and strides over. Rick immediately shrinks back. Claire. Nick looks at me. Suddenly, all the warmth drains from him. He's distant now, unreachable. His voice is devoid of affection. Don't use this method to prove how important you are to me. It only makes you look pathetic. He pauses. I'll ask you one last time. Do you really not know me? Don't remember. Anything from before? I meet those bottomless black eyes. The tenderness from earlier is gone. Rick holds his breath beside us. Calmly, I shake my head. I don't remember, sir. I really don't know what you're talking about. I can practically hear Rick's teeth grinding. But to my surprise, Nick doesn't look angry or disappointed. He just watches me for a few seconds, then looks away. I see. I was mistaken. I'm sorry. He turns slightly, no longer looking at me. Thinking Nick is about to leave, Rick fawns again. Mr. Lawson. If you'd like, we have other girls just like her, but Nick doesn't move an inch. In fact, he has no intention of leaving at all. You're noisy. 3 flat words. Instantly, Rick's face turns the color of a bruised plum. Nick's gaze shifts back to me. I heard you're supposed to be in school, but your parents are gone, and you have a younger brother. Is that right? I nod hesitantly. There's a need-based scholarship program my company underwrites. Selections are made by an independent committee. I don't choose recipients directly. He says it carefully. but I can ensure your application gets fast-tracked through the housing assistance component. The program covers tuition, living expenses, and arranges supervised after-school care until you graduate from college. If your brother qualifies, he can be included." Rick's jaw drops. He stares at me like he's recalculating my worth. But I know better. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Nick once said, "A bar girl? How could she ever be a wife?" But what about a girl who was clean from the start? A girl he personally saved? A version of me who was never a bar girl, maybe she could be his wife. In other words, only the version of me who hasn't been reborn is clean enough for him. So everything he said before was a test. That's why I had to pretend not to know him. To convince Nick I haven't been reborn. Nick finishes speaking and watches me quietly. "So, what do you think, Claire? Are you still going to refuse?" Of course I don't refuse. Chapter 5. The new apartment. I grip the key to the new apartment. The metal is cold against my palm. The lease lists me as Aiden's legal guardian, with rent paid directly by the Northbridge Scholars Fund, a registered 501c3. Everything is documented, transparent. Claire. Aiden's small hand in mine is also cold. He looks up at me. "Are we going to live together now?" "Yes." "Will it just be the two of us in this new home?" "And a licensed after-school caregiver. Her name is Mrs. Chen." Aiden falls silent. After a while, he asks, "Claire, yesterday, did you not want me anymore?" I stop walking and look down at him. "Why do you ask?" "You left me alone at Aunt Linda's house. You ran so fast." His voice is full of hurt. "I called for you, but you didn't look back." Aunt Linda said, "Even my own sister doesn't want me." She said I must be a bad kid. She wouldn't let me touch anything in her house. She made me stand by the door the whole time. I look into his clear, anxious eyes. Past and present blur together in my mind. The dim streetlights stretch our shadows long and twisted on the ground. The cold teenager who told me, "We're even," and the scared child afraid of being abandoned slowly overlap. I crouch down to meet his gaze. "Aiden." My voice is calmer than I expected. "No one in this world can not want another person. You're not an object. People can only choose or be chosen. Get close or walk away. But you can remember how yesterday felt. Being left behind. Being hurt." Aiden nods, half understanding. He reaches up and gently wipes away a tear I didn't know had fallen. "Claire, you're crying." "Claire, don't cry. I promise I'll never hurt you." I force a smile. I know you're smart. Smarter than anyone." Seeing me finally smile, Aiden's eyes brighten. He tries to smile too. I take his warm little hand in mine and say, "So, Aiden, help me study." Before I was reborn, I dropped out in my senior year of high school. A week after the SATs, I was still working at Radiance Club. Playing high and mighty? You came here to sell, didn't you? I'm doing you a favor by picking you tonight. A drunk client pinned me to the couch, trying to rip my dress off. That's when Tiffany kicked the door open. She smashed a bottle and used it as a weapon, forcing him back. Then she dragged me out. She told Rick I was traumatized and needed paid leave. For the next few nights, I sat in the smoky staff lounge, silent and sleepless. I didn't cry. Didn't speak. I just stared at my old phone, refreshing the SAT questions posted online over and over. Then I found an eyebrow pencil and copied the questions onto the back of a Radiance Club recruitment flyer. One by one, I wrote down every answer I could remember. Until dawn broke outside the window. That's why, even now, I still remember most of that year's Saturday. The next day, I used the $5,000 Rick refunded me to buy every SAT prep book I could find, practice tests, past exams, everything. For the next few months, aside from school, eating, and sleeping, I did nothing but practice problems. When I finished them all, I pulled out blank sheets of paper and based on fragments of memory, similar question types, and overlapping concepts, I reconstructed this year's test as best I could. When I walked into the living room holding those wrinkled, scribbled pages, Aiden was sitting on the carpet. He'd already finished his elementary school homework and was quietly reading an English novel. He's in public school now, thanks to the Northbridge program's placement recommendations. But not the elite six-figure tuition academy I nearly killed myself trying to get him into in my previous life. Just an ordinary city school. Not because the program can't afford better. Nick has been reborn. He remembers the genius teenager who publicly severed ties with me at our so-called engagement party. The Aiden who made no effort to hide his contempt for Nick, his brother-in-law. So, is this revenge? Or domestication? Snuffing out Aiden's potential arrogance at the root. Making him settle for mediocrity. Ensuring he never has reason to look down on anyone again. I'm not sure yet. What I do know is that Aiden has no objections. He goes to school with his little backpack every day, does his homework diligently, never mentions anything about school, and never shows any hint of exceptional talent. He's like an actual ordinary elementary schooler. If not for this moment, he spends less than an hour grading the practice SAT, I wrote. Red pen moving steadily in his small hand, marking one X after another. Finally, he slides the paper back to me. Claire, at your current level, you'd barely get into a mid-tier state school. He looks up. His black and white eyes are still clear, but there's a focus in them that doesn't belong to a 7-year-old. Claire, where do you want to go? Princeton. I forced the name out the school I didn't dare dream of in my past life. Aiden's expression doesn't change. As if it's only natural. Princeton. He repeats it, then nods. Got it. He quickly sketches a mind map on paper. Starting today, we relearn everything. Step 1 isn't drilling problems. It's building a framework. Claire, look here. From the beginning. Chapter 6. The results. The day my SAT scores are released, the principal's office is packed. Grace Sullivan's hand trembles on the mouse. She tries 3 times before successfully opening the score portal. A string of numbers appears on the screen. The room falls silent. Miss. Sullivan's mouth falls open. It stays that way for a full 30 seconds open, soundless. Then this woman, the same age as my late mother, the teacher I once clung to in tears, suddenly stands. Her chair screeches backward. She comes around the desk and pulls me into a tight hug. Warm tears fall onto my neck. Good. Good. She's incoherent, repeating the word over and over. After that day, my ordinary public high school has never been so celebrated. The principal personally hangs a massive red banner from the roof of the main building all the way down to the first floor. Congratulations to Claire Gallagher on her outstanding SAT achievement. In the hallways, former classmates whisper, "Wait, that Claire? Didn't she almost drop out? How is this possible? These scores are insane. She could get into Princeton easily." My phone rings. It's Nick. Claire. Congratulations. His voice is warm as always, with a hint of a smile. I'm happy for you. And a little surprised. I didn't know my Claire was such a good student. I walk to an empty stairwell, gripping the phone. But his tone shifts. I can't help feeling like, you already knew you'd do this well. Like you knew the questions ahead of time. His gaze seems to pierce through the phone, stabbing into me. Claire, if you have such a brilliant mind, why would you ever think about working at a nightclub? Unless I stay silent for a moment, then follow the script I've rehearsed countless times in my head. My voice carries just the right mix of gratitude and shyness. Maybe because back then I was desperate. Backed into a corner. And I hadn't met you yet. I pause. I owe all of this to you, Mr. Lawson. Your support gave me peace of mind. And my brother helped me a lot, too. A soft laugh comes through the phone. He seems satisfied with this answer for now. When I hang up, I stare out the window. Nick guessed right. My edge was premeditated. I rebuilt the test structure from memory and drilled the pattern space until there were no surprises. I gamed the distribution. Call it obsessive preparation. Call it survival. It worked. The celebration banquet happens. The thank you dinner, too. Just as the principal and Miss Sullivan are excitedly discussing how to send me off to college with drums and fanfare, I speak up at the dinner table. Miss Sullivan, I want to defer enrollment. Take a gap year. I'll reapply next cycle. Miss Sullivan's chopsticks, halfway to her mouth with a piece of braised pork, freeze in midair. Her jaw, which had just closed not long ago, slowly drops open again. Claire, what did you say? Say that again? Later that evening, I walk into the principal's office with a folder. Principal Clark, I have a proposal. I slide papers across his desk. I want to start tutoring legitimately. Small group sessions, documented curriculum. I'll rent space, get proper insurance, everything above board. He looks confused. And this benefits the school how? Publicity. I'll credit your teacher's methods in all my materials. Recommend students apply here. Your acceptance rates will climb, which means better funding, better reputation, higher enrollment. Principal Clark studies me. What do you need from us is less than #0. 6 hashes greater than an endorsement letter. Official letterhead saying the school supports alumni entrepreneurship. And I pause. Access to alumni networks for investor introductions. He leans back, considering. All right, Miss Gallagher. Let's see what you can do. The tutoring starts small. 5 students, meeting twice a week in a rented community center room. Within 3 months, all 5 show dramatic improvement. Word spreads among parents. I scale carefully, hire 2 former teachers as contractors, expand to 3 session blocks, move into a small storefront. By spring, I have 17 students and a waiting list. I apply to the Grayson Youth Entrepreneur Fund, a local foundation that supports student-led ventures. After 3 rounds of interviews, they award me a $15,000 grant. That summer, I compete in the Northeast Regional Math Olympiad and place 3rd, winning $8,000. I write an essay for the Daughters of the American Revolution Scholarship, Education as Inheritance, Raising My Brother, Finding Myself. They award me $12,000. Every dollar gets documented. I keep meticulous spreadsheets, income, expenses, taxes withheld. Miss Sullivan helps me open a business checking account. Claire, she says quietly, looking at the paperwork, you're building something real here. I nod. I have to. By the time I reapply to Princeton, my application includes a 1,590 SAT second attempt. 1 year later, founder and director of Gallagher Test Prep, LLC. 3 foundation scholarships totaling $35,000 Olympiad medalist. A recommendation from Principal Clark citing extraordinary resilience and entrepreneurial vision. I'm accepted with a full merit scholarship. Chapter 7. 3 years forward. I don't go to Princeton right away. Instead, I defer for 1 year and pour everything into the business. The tutoring company becomes Gallagher Education. I bring on 4 more instructors, lease half a floor in an office building, develop a proprietary curriculum. By the time I matriculate 19 years old, 1 year behind my original cohort, the company runs itself on weekends with a part-time manager. Princeton is intense, but I've lived through worse. I double major in education policy and business. I run the company remotely, flying back twice a month for in-person reviews. Sophomore year, I pitched to an edtech angel investor at a school-sponsored demo day. He writes a $75,000 seed check on the spot. Junior year, revenue hits $240,000. I hire an accountant. The first thing she sends me is a 1,099 summary and payroll compliance checklist. "Claire," she says on our call, "you need to formalize everything now. You're past the threshold where the IRS starts paying attention." I do. Every dollar gets tracked, taxed, documented. By senior year, I've saved 178,000 inches personal assets separate from company reserves. I start a second venture, the Spring Grass Foundation, a registered nonprofit offering micro-scholarships to girls from low-income backgrounds. The seed funding comes from my personal savings, $50,000 transferred cleanly, with receipts and board oversight. I interview every recipient personally. I look into their eyes and see the same light I once had. Then I tell them, go to school. I'll handle the money. Around this time, I receive an unexpected email. Subject settlement, Offer Radiance Club incident. It's from a law firm representing a class action suit against Radiance Club for workplace violations and patron misconduct. Apparently, after I left, multiple women came forward. They're offering me $68,000 as part of a settlement. My testimony isn't required, just acknowledgement of harm. I sign. When the check clears, I add it to my personal account and update my financial tracking sheet. The total now reads $246,000. Not $520,000 yet. But I'm getting there. Now, Tiffany is folding one of my hoodies and placing it neatly into my suitcase. I'm 22. Graduating in 2 weeks. Aiden is 11, still in elementary school, though recently he's been less careful about hiding his abilities. Last month, his teacher called me. "Miss Gallagher, I think Aiden should be tested for the gifted program. His math scores are unprecedented." I approved it. Let him be seen now. It's time. Tiffany is no longer our caregiver, Mrs. Chen retired last year when Aiden insisted he was old enough to manage on his own. But Tiffany stayed in our lives. She finished her GED, enrolled in community college, and now works as my company's operations coordinator. There. All packed. She grins. "Oh, and that sponsor of yours came by again." I freeze. "He told me to tell you he's waiting in the parking garage. Says he'll take you somewhere as soon as you get back." Tiffany wrinkles her nose. "Be careful. That man looks at you like a wolf eyeing meat. Hasn't changed in 4 years." I nod and head down to the garage. I spot the black Maybach immediately, parked in its reserved spot. Nick is leaning against the car door, his back to me, on the phone. The garage is quiet. I soften my footsteps. "Yo, Nick Lawson, is the engagement real? You finally bringing your treasure out for us to see?" I stop. Stand in the shadow of a support beam. "She's not a treasure I'm hiding." His voice is flat, emotionless. "Not hiding her? Then why do you guard her like that? Women are all the same, man. Why bother?" Nick lowers his eyes. After a moment, he seems to smile faintly. My Claire is different. The person on the phone laughs exaggeratedly. How's she different? Is she covered in diamonds? Yes. I step out from behind the pillar, deliberately making my footsteps louder. Nick stiffens. He glances back, sees me, and hangs up immediately. "Claire." He says my name the way he has for 4 years, soft, tender. He opens the passenger door for me. Let's go. I want to celebrate with you. And I'd like you to meet my friends. Soon. They'll be calling you Mrs. Lawson. I don't move. Nick Lawson. I use his full name. You've always had a fiancé, haven't you? His smile freezes. The hand holding the car door locks in place. Your families are old money. She's your childhood friend. Your engagement was arranged when you were young. The perfect match. So even though you're both seeing other people now, when the time comes, you'll still get married. Nick's fingers tighten on the door handle, then slowly release. Finally, he lets go entirely and slams the door shut with a loud bang. You know. It's not a question. I nod. Yes. I finally know. I know why, in my past life, when Aiden first saw Nick at our front door, he reacted the way he did. By then, Aiden, famous for being a teenage genius, had probably already attended enough formal events to have seen Nick before. Seen him with his arm around his legitimate fiancé. Seen my so-called boyfriend laughing and smiling with another woman like the perfect couple. And Aiden never told me this cruel truth. I can think of plenty of understandable reasons why. Maybe he didn't want to shatter the fragile dream I was clinging to. Maybe he thought telling me would only make it worse. But I've decided to stop making excuses for him. Meanwhile, Nick's guilt and panic have already vanished. He leans back against the car, like a traveler finally allowed to set down a heavy burden. Yes. He admits it. I have a fiancé I grew up with. My heart beats steadily, quietly. I look at him and ask the question that's haunted me for so long. So from the very beginning, whether I was Claire the bar girl or the clean Claire you rescued later, I was never going to be your wife. Right? Nick's eyes widen as if stung. His pupils contract. You really were reborn. He figures it out instantly. And his voice carries shock and something else. Joy? Because if I'm reborn, that means I already loved him once. Maybe I still do. The garage is deathly silent. I can hear his breathing, heavy and strained. Finally, Nick sighs deeply. Yes. No matter what, I won't break off my engagement for you. He confesses with brutal speed. Brutal honesty. Claire, we were never from the same world. The same class. I have responsibilities. Obligations. I can't throw everything away like some romantic lead in a TV drama. He meets my eyes. But everything I felt when I was with you, it was real. His gaze is bloodshot now. You were never just a side piece to me. Not since my past life. Not since that terrorist set off a homemade bomb in the street during that revenge attack. Not since I lost you once. His voice cracks. That's when I realized what I feel for you goes way beyond liking. After that, every plan I made, every future I imagined. Had you in it? He takes a shaky breath. These past few years, before and after being reborn, it was all real. You even died for me in our past life. How could I just cut all that away and go back to the life I was supposed to live? His voice drops to a whisper. I can't, Claire. I really can't. A long silence. A car drives past nearby. The sound of tires on concrete briefly cuts through the stillness. So, what's your plan? I ask. Make me owe you? Make me fall for you again? So I'll willingly become your mistress? Nick says nothing. It's almost an admission. Nick Lawson, don't even think about it. I say each word slowly. Clearly. Not a chance. Nick's shoulders sag. He leans back harder against the car. Yeah. What the hell was I thinking? His voice is hollow. I thought because I was reborn, because I had the script, I could go back and fix every mistake I made. I thought I could make the Lawson family accept a girl from nothing. Make my fiancé and her family back out gracefully. And then? He laughs bitterly. Then I could pull you out of the shadows and let you stand beside me in the light. He shakes his head. How ridiculous. Who do I think I am? His voice cracks. I'm not. I'm just some guy torn between desire and duty, who ended up failing both sides. Just another pathetic, ordinary man. Silence. Leave. The word comes out like it's choking him. I turn to go. While I can still control myself, while I can still let you go. His voice chases after me. Claire, I'm worse than you think. More selfish. He pauses. His voice is as low and thick as midnight fog and freezing air. I'm afraid I'll change my mind soon. That I'll do anything to keep you here. And that would be your real destruction. Chapter 8. Moving Forward. After leaving the garage, days pass like a wound-up clock, fast, steady, relentless. My life becomes a rhythm of building, growing, documenting. Gallagher Education expands into 3 states. I bring on a CFO who implements proper accounting systems, quarterly audits, tax compliance. The Springgrass Foundation funds its first cohort of 20 girls. I attend their graduation ceremonies, watch them cry with relief, see versions of my younger self in every face. I'm careful, methodical. Every scholarship recipient is selected by a blind committee. Every donation is receipted. Every conflict of interest disclosed. My days are so full, so satisfying, that I barely have time to think about the past. So much so that when Tiffany drives up to my office one day, I'm genuinely startled by how tall the boy stepping out of the passenger seat has gotten. Claire, look who I brought. Tiffany rolls down the window, grinning and waving. Aiden climbs out of the car. He just returned from an international youth physics competition in Switzerland, where he won gold by a landslide. The teenager is lean and tall now, his hair cut short, revealing those beautiful, cold eyes. He's 16 now. A senior in high school, having skipped 2 grades. A few years ago, Aiden finally stopped pretending to be ordinary. During a national math competition, he scored perfectly faster than anyone had ever completed the test before. After that, the name Aiden Grant Teenage Genius could no longer be hidden. Faced with a flood of media and interview requests, he never avoided talking about his background. On camera, he said plainly, "I'm Claire Gallagher's brother." She raised me. That's all. One simple sentence. And it made Gallagher Education explode in popularity. The media dug up my story and packaged it as an inspirational tale, sister builds empire while raising genius brother. It became the best recruitment ad my company could ever ask for. Now, Tiffany drops us off by the river. Mission complete. I'm clocking out early for a date. Bye. She hits the gas and speeds off. The riverside wind carries a hint of moisture, lifting my hair. We walk slowly along the embankment. Finally, Aiden breaks the silence. Claire. This isn't your first time living, is it? I stumble mid-step. I steady myself and look at him. He's nearly a full head taller than me now. He's looking down, his black hair blowing in the wind. In those usually cold eyes, there's a depth I can't read. I instinctively want to ask, how did you know? But the question feels pointless in front of someone like Aiden. He doesn't wait for me to speak. He explains on his own. I first suspected it the day you left 7-year-old me at Aunt Linda's without a word. My eyes widen. That early? Your change was too drastic. His lips curve into a faint, cold smile. One day, you were a sister who wanted to give me the whole world. The next, you looked at me like I was. an enemy you'd raised and could never tame. He pauses. You didn't even bother hiding it. The second time I confirmed it was when you asked me to grade that SAT reconstruction you wrote by hand. But I was too young then. I couldn't fully process something as complex as Rebirth. I ask, so what did you think was happening? He thinks back. At the time, it felt like you were living through a very long dream. Before the dream, you were ready to carve out your heart, drain your blood dry, and trade it all for my future. But after you woke up, he looks at me. You finally saw yourself. And I became optional. The wind blows. In the distance, the sun sinks into an orange-red glow. Did you resent me? I ask softly. At first, yes. He answers immediately. For about a year, I lived in fear every day. I was scared to act too smart, afraid you'd think you didn't need me anymore. But I was also scared to act too dumb, afraid you'd think I was worthless. He pauses. But more than anything, I was terrified you'd abandon me again. His voice steadies. So I started thinking. Because I knew you weren't cold-blooded. For you to change that much, something really terrible must have happened. Aiden stops walking. He looks at me. So, Claire, can you tell me? What happened before you were reborn? I think for a moment. I realize that the humiliating, painful decade I lived through in my past life has started to blur in my memory. But I tell him what I remember. I speak calmly, as if I'm telling someone else's story. Aiden listens in silence. His expression shifts slowly from calm to heavy. He presses his lips into a hard line. His hands, which had been in his pockets, are suddenly out, clenched into fists. When I get to the part about the 520,000, his body sways. Finally, I finish. I think I understand now. His voice is hoarse. The me in that timeline was too self-righteous. A monster everyone's praise lifted too high. Someone who lived in a sterile vacuum for too long. He looks down. That version of me probably thought you were with Nick for money and status. That you knew he had a fiancé and still chose to be his mistress. So, in his eyes, you were degrading yourself. His jaw tightens. That's why he wanted to cut ties. Why he turned affection into 520,000 and handed it back to you thinking it was some noble wake-up call. Aiden's voice cracks. But the one who should have reflected was him. That spoiled, ignorant version of me who never suffered a day in his life. He shakes his head bitterly. That version of me was scum. Even though he's me, I can't defend him. A cruise ship on the river sounds its horn low, long, mournful. Aiden finishes his analysis of his past self. Then, in a voice that sounds almost broken, he asks, So, Claire, do you hate me? Do you still hate me? At first, yes. I borrow his earlier answer. But now? I don't know. I haven't thought about those things in a long, long time. It's a Schrodinger's answer. I could hate him. Or I could not care. It's entirely up to me. Claire. His voice cracks. His eyes, usually so cold, are brimming with tears. Red-rimmed. I laugh genuinely, carelessly. It's way too late to apologize now. But you know what? I've been keeping a tally. Every scholarship, every prize, every dollar I've earned, it's all documented. When I hit 520,000 inches, my personal accounts, I'm going to write you a check for exactly that amount. I pause. Then we'll be even. And you can decide what kind of relationship we have after that. Aiden's tears actually fall now. He covers his face with both hands. His voice is thick with hurt. Claire, don't scare me. This version of me is sensitive. I'm a coward. I'm about to respond when a familiar figure appears at the edge of my vision. Nick Lawson. Aiden notices too. He drops his hands. The tears vanish instantly. Nick walks through the riverside willows, step by step, toward us. A few years have been kind to him. He's shed the sharpness of youth and grown more mature, more restrained. But up close, there's stubble on his jaw. Dark circles under his eyes. Before he can get close, Aiden steps in front of me, blocking me. Some things belong in the trash. His voice is icy. But some trash doesn't know how to stay in the dump. Two tall men face each other in the evening wind. One young, sharp, blazing. The other mature, restrained, exhausted. But I don't need either of them. I step out from behind Aiden and stand beside him. I look at Nick. Mr. Lawson, what do you want? Nick only looks at me, as if I'm the only person in his world. I broke off the engagement. His voice is hoarse. I raise an eyebrow. Say nothing. Beside me, Aiden tenses. I told her everything. Nick laughs bitterly. About you. About being reborn. She probably thinks I've lost my mind. Didn't want to marry someone with mental problems. He pauses. So finally, with my insistence, her family agreed to call it off. His voice is flat. Of course, there were consequences. Covenant breach penalties. Stock price drops. A massive settlement. And my father, he's furious. Planning to remove me from the board. Nick takes a deep breath. But none of that matters anymore. Because I really, truly don't want to give you up, Claire. His voice wavers. From the first day I met you, I knew I shouldn't get close. You were so bright. Even in a place like Radiance Club, you were like a blade of grass growing toward the Sunday. He swallows hard. But I couldn't control myself. I was greedy. Selfish. I wanted to have my cake and eat it too. His voice breaks. And the result? I hurt you the most. He stops. His throat bobs. I'm sorry, Claire. I'm so sorry. Finally. An apology 2 lifetimes too late. I listen to the end. Then I nod. Okay. I accept your apology. Nick's eyes light up instantly, desperately, almost wildly. Claire! Aiden frowns beside me. Nick takes a huge step forward. His voice shakes. Claire, we can start over. I gave up everything. I have nothing now. Nothing except you. I want you to be my wife. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. This time out in the open, sorry. I sigh and cut him off. I accept your apology. That doesn't mean I love you again. I meet his eyes. We're adults now. No one falls back in love just because of an apology. Right? Nick freezes. The wild joy drains from his face, bit by bit, shattering. The wind whips his expensive coat. Then, Claire. His voice is nearly begging now. Just as goodbye. Let me hug you. Just once. Please. No. My answer is immediate. Final. Silence. A sound somewhere between a gasp and a bitter laugh scrapes out of his throat. Because it sounds so pathetic. Only then does Aiden finally relax. He slides his hands back into his pockets and, in that rebellious teenage tone, delivers the final blow. Sorry, Mr. Lawson. My sister is the founder of Gallagher Education and Springgrass Foundation. She's in her prime. No packages. Refusals only. Epilogue: The Island. Last night, it snowed. The whole world turned clean and white. He doesn't get out of the car. He just lifts his head, staring through the windshield toward the parking lot exit. There, on a large electronic screen, an interview segment is playing. At the bottom, elegant white text reads, "The Island Solo Exhibition by emerging artist and philanthropist Claire Gallagher." The screen is huge. He can see the faint downward curve of her lashes, the calm, distant smile at the corner of her lips. She stands there quietly, a world unto herself. Complete. Abundant. A world that doesn't need anyone else to step inside. An island. I used to think loving someone meant lowering yourself into the dirt and blooming from there. Now, I know you can't bloom in mud. You just become mud yourself. So, for me, the island isn't a sad concept. It's a world you have complete control over, where you decide the weather, the seasons, when it gets dark, when it gets light. You don't need to rely on anyone. You don't need to be defined by anyone. Alone, but not lonely. Very happy. It turns out, when someone truly decides to leave, they don't make a sound. He breathes onto the cold window, fogging it up. Then, with one finger, he traces 2 words into the mist. Claire Gallagher outside. The sunlight grows brighter. The end.